My parents were going down to Atlanta for the summer. Business stuff. Nothing out of the ordinary for them. But rather than take me along as was normal for such trips, they put me with my aunt and uncle. I was to get acclimated to a country style of life, as I'd lived in both the city and suburbs, and I was well versed in those lifestyles. I, in short, much preferred them as well. My cousins were much older and had already moved out, so I was stuck in this house alone with two relatives whom I shared nothing with. So I took every second I could to indulge in my newest fascination at the time, anime. Toonami had just started a block of animation with Yu Yu Hakusho and Rurouni Kenshin, and I did everything to absorb it, all of the content from glorious Nippon. One day, the satellite was out and it was a nice day outside, so I biked around the surrounding area, taking careful advice from my aunt not to get too close to the highway. That day was when I met Devin. We started talking about video games. Contra was his favorite. An odd choice, but unique. It gave him cred in my book. We rode our bikes around and he showed me the sights. Honestly, there wasn't much to see, but hey, it was broadening my horizons. So, I didn't notice it at first, but it gradually became clear that Devin was different. I didn't ask about it, so I'm not sure what the diagnosis was, but he was suffering from some sort of intellectual disability. In layman's terms, he was mentally retarded, so that didn't bother me, but his actions later on did get on my nerves. So he took me to his home, Huston's Doll and Gift Shop. He lived beside this little shop that his dad owned and operated himself. We entered the shop from the back. Devin wanted to show me around. When he opened the garage door, his father was holding a dog by the collar, preventing it from running away. His father barked at me to close the door very rudely, and I didn't know where the button was to close it or, what to do. Devin did it for me. We didn't spend long there, and I never went back. Devin's dad weirded me out quite a bit. The next day, the satellite was back online, so scheduled programming continued. Until Devin came by my aunt and uncle's house mid-Toonami. So, I told him to come back a little bit later after the shows. He did, but the next day, the same thing happened. My aunt encouraged me to go outside and play, which I'd gladly do in the morning or late evening, but Devin kept coming by to interrupt my anime binging. Then my aunt would kick me out of the house. I think she thought I didn't want to be friends with someone dealing with mental issues. Really, I just wanted to watch my cartoons, as she put it. Will Smith was right. But not just about parents. Aunts and uncles seemed to not understand either. So, one day Devin came by and we rode our bikes around the back roads. He seemed a bit off, like something was bothering him. I was angry that he didn't get the picture about my priorities, so I didn't pry. It took him breaking down and crying near a creek for me to ask what was wrong. I hoped it wasn't something I did. I liked Devin. I just didn't like him more than anime. Turns out his dog had some sort of internal injury. His dad didn't have the money to fix it. Business wasn't so great at Huston's, so he put the dog down with the old family rifle. I stopped being selfish for a moment and acted like a friend, doing what I could do to comfort Devin, which really wasn't much, but be there with him and ride bikes with him. I was again annoyed when he showed up the next day during Toonami, but I knew playing with him was the right thing to do. We didn't talk much that day. Devin would just suggest a place to go and we'd bike there. He said he didn't want to be at home, looking at the family rifle hung on the wall. That must have been a strange artifact of a bad memory for him. The next day, I got to watch Toonami completely uninterrupted, and my aunt even had the episodes I missed on VHS tapes. Then the day after that, I also got to watch Toonami completely free of intrusion, and so it was for the rest of the summer. I was happy with my viewing habits, but pretty lonely by the time my parents picked me up to take me back to Connecticut. On the highway back home, I passed Huston's one last time. I wondered what happened to Devon